It starts down in kindergarten, making sure that you learn to read before you leave me, and that you know that you're a leader and you're going to face challenges, but you will persevere. And that above all, you're a beloved child of God.
Okay, so we are like mid-conversation right now but we had to start recording. Welcome everybody, Company of Charity podcast, yada yada yada. Here we are.
Here we are. Yeah,
Sister
we are
Liz,
truly.
Sister Elizabeth.
Yeah, I'm Sister Elizabeth. She's Sister Liz.
I am not Woman of the Year. My co-host is Woman of the Year.
I'm not Woman of the Year this year, and no, but I was sharing with Sister Liz that I was away for a couple of weeks, and on my way home, I found out that I was awarded, or the awardee, I guess you would say, of an award from the Rotary Group, I guess, in Utica. And so there's two things we're announcing, really. One is that I have been was nominated by somebody for an award called Service Above Self, and it's the second time they've given this award, and this year they're doing it through a fundraising gala at the historic Stanley Theater in downtown Utica, and I am the recipient of this award. Will be, and I'm moving. and so I had to explain to the gentleman who wrote to me and said, "We're so happy to tell you that you've received this award." And the award you had to be nominated. Somebody had to write this thing about you. So I don't know yet what was written, but I do know who wrote it, and it was Trin Trong, who was
on the podcast.
Interviewed probably now 3 years. I think it was season 1. So we might have to put a link for her episode. She's a young woman who just got a job in DC. She's doing really great, but she saw this process to nominate someone, and she decided to write a letter. And I don't know what happened after that, but all I know is I'm driving home because I'm coming home for like 3 weeks to begin to pack up all my stuff, because I'm moving to St. Louis to be the assistant seminary directress. Or assistant to the directress. So assistant to the seminary directress, and because we're going to have 5, praise God, wonderful young and new sisters to the company in the United States. So that's all such amazing news. So I was in St. Louis, getting ready to make this move, all excited, coming home to kind of be sad and pack up, and in the midst, I'm awarded this Service Above Self award. And of course, I had to email the guy back. His name is Joe Caruso. And I said, Joe, I'm leaving. I mean, this is great, and I don't know who you are, and I don't know who did this, and I don't know anything about the Rotary. I think I had known something about them a while back, when I first got here. I said, I would really, really be okay, obviously, and think if there was somebody else who you were thinking about, I'm sure there were other nominees that were equally as deserving. Thank you. That's the word. And they said, no, we knew that you were leaving, but we wanted to do this before you left.
Kind of like a goodbye. Thank you. You're amazing.
Like a thank you.
Goodbye.
Yeah. And so it's so amazing, really, really amazing. I had hoped kind of to slip out of Utica, like sometimes you just want to go quietly. And so that's, not going to happen. But so I am so grateful to Trin, for her. I don't know what she wrote, so I shouldn't say thank you yet until I hear it. She's supposedly going to read it at the dinner.
That would be cool.
Yeah, at this gala. So anyways, that's the story for right now. So I was sharing that with Sister Liz before. Yeah. And she said, why are we not recording this? I said, because it's,
Well, it is a perfect award for a sturdy, steady daughter of charity.
Yeah. Well, and I said, And of course, I mean, every one of us knows that we are not in this by ourselves by any means. And so when one daughter of charity receives an award, it's usually because she's had an army of daughters of charity working with her. That's just the way it is, because we don't do anything by ourselves, that's for sure. So I have all the sisters in my house to thank for for all the good work that we're doing here, and that they'll continue to do when I leave. So
yes,
yeah,
what a great ministry.
yeah. Oh, it is. It's amazing. It's amazing. And this is one of those times when you realize you take the advantage of being able to tell someone and tell a group of people about what you're doing, and who you're doing it with, and just how amazing the refugees that we're working with are. Today we were just thinking about them, and one family is going home to Sudan. They just got their citizenship, the mom and dad. The Rian works for us now. She's doing all our cultural orientation. Her husband, Abu, just got finished college. They've been here 5 years because they just got their citizenship. So he's just graduated from the community college as an electrician, because that's what he was in Sudan. But because of the rules and regulations, he couldn't do anything until he went back to school. And then Rian is doing really well, and they have 4 beautiful children who their parents have never seen, because they had to flee their country because of war. And now, because they're citizens, they have the protection of the American government. They are people who are living in a country that will protect them when they leave. And that is just amazing. So they can freely go back to bring their babies home to see their grandparents. Oh, I mean, who wouldn't want to do this work?
Exactly.
It's not even work. It's just joy every day. And you just see people. That. One gentleman just got a citizenship yesterday, World Refugee Day celebration, just got into nursing school. Sister Phyllis and Sister Paula Gallant is now in South Carolina, who was here, helped him with his courses. Neither of them wanted to help with his anatomy and physiology course, but he got through it. Wow. And he received a citizenship, got into nursing school, and will be starting his first class. Just like I said, it's just so amazing. Yeah. Thing. Yeah. And wow. We just try to be good neighbors, just good neighbors. People getting jobs, getting cars, getting licenses. Yeah, it's just beautiful, really beautiful. So it'll be hard to leave. It'll be really hard to leave. But I'm just so glad the sisters will be here to continue the work. So, anyways, that's my story.
What a great one.
Yeah.
The mark of a good experience is when you're sad that it's over.
Oh yeah. So. Yeah. Kind of walked around. I spent the day with one of the women who came around the same time I did. We just kind of spent the day. We went food shopping and got some stuff for her work, and went to McDonald's because she loves cheeseburgers, really quarter pounders. That's what she likes with cheese. So we got that. I think it's not the best of American food, but when
people like it.
They like it. When she leaves fufu, which is what she makes, and it's amazing and delicious, which is what they, African meal, pretty common. And they're from the Congo. And so but she loves quarter pounders with cheese. So that's what we got. And then we went to see the gardens because they're growing corn and squash and green beans, and checked out all the gardens to make sure everything was okay. So it was a good day. It was a really good day. So enough about me.
Enough about you. We got another.
This is not a co-host chat. This is not a co-host chat.
It's been a mini co-host chat, and that's just fine. If you made it this far, don't stop now, because
because the real show is coming.
We have a great interview with another awesome, sturdy and steady daughter of charity. Sister Kate. She's going to talk about her teaching ministry, which is joy, just like you described.
Yeah.
And she's got a lot of good things going on in your former place in Macon, Georgia.
In Macon, Georgia.
A great little town that is well beloved by all the Daughters of Charity.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sister Kate's interview, I just, she's an amazing woman, amazing sister, and an amazing teacher. And you can just hear it through the whole interview, how much she cares for her students, and, really willing to kind of step into the mess of COVID and all the things that happen. And she just articulates so well, how difficult really it is for the families of St. Peter Claver Catholic Church, is where she's teaching right now, in the school. And just, it's difficult. It's difficult on a good day to have kids who are in elementary school. Bringing kids up in the world today is just difficult, but to do that in the midst of COVID, and then to be on the other side of it and try to put it all back together, and just realize, how kids have been affected by it. And so realizing you're not only teaching them the academics, you're also trying to help them catch up with the socialization and all the other skills that we, don't realize
you learn in kindergarten. There's a book.
These teachers are just amazing what they do for the children. So I think everyone's going to enjoy Sister Kate and yourself. Good interview.
Yes, and we only have a couple more episodes left before the end of the season. We'll be taking a mini break.
We will.
But we always love that you guys are listening. We never take that for granted. We are always available. We are on Instagram, Company of Charity Podcast. We are available by email, thecompanyofcharity@gmail.com. And share this episode with a friend, especially anyone who's an educator, teacher in the classroom in some way, even a parent. There's a lot of good stuff in here about developmental stages and little kids. So we just hope that you screenshot it and share it, and send the link to somebody that you love, and send us your ideas and your feedback. We'd love to hear from you. Enjoy, guys. Hey everybody, it's Sister Liz here, and I'm with a good friend, a daughter of charity in Macon, Georgia. Sister Kate is with us, and she was on the podcast a couple of years ago. But Sister Kate, very excited to have you back. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here. It's been about 2 years since we talked, and I've been on mission those 2 years, teaching through the pandemic, getting my feet kind of settled as what it is to be a daughter of charity out in mission. And I'm excited to share some stories with you today.
Awesome. So remind everybody, you are about like where you are and Macon and the school, and how it was during COVID. Is it getting better, or are you just starting to see kids with those delays in education and stuff like that because of this whole pandemic scenario that we were in?
Yeah, I'm the kindergarten teacher at St. Peter Claver Catholic School in Macon, Georgia. It was actually founded by St. Catherine Drexel in the early 1900s. She slept in our house, which is pretty cool.
That is so cool.
The school was originally founded for Black Catholic children to get a quality education. And we still live up to that name today, serving predominantly Black, Latinx, and Asian students, most of whom are on scholarship and financial aid. Over 65% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch at our school. So we've evolved over time, but we continue to serve the needs of people who wouldn't typically get access to such a high quality education. And the pandemic has really, really affected that. A lot of our families are single parent families, working parent families, working 2, 3, 4 jobs to make ends meet, especially as the pandemic laid them off. We had a family that Mom was really frustrated at the beginning of the school year, and then it turned out she hadn't had a job for a year. And she'd just been kind of scraping by, and grandma stepped in to like make sure her daughter could go to our school again this year. And we were able to reach out and help them. Most of our families have gone through a lot financially this past couple of years. And it's drastically changed how they live, and it's affected how the kids come to school. We've been blessed with things like free lunch and breakfast for all during the pandemic. And so the kids come to school and eat, and we make sure that they get to eat, and they do so for free. So parents aren't having to worry about it, especially as costs have just absolutely skyrocketed. We have a thriving uniform share because clothes are expensive. It's part of everything being more expensive, especially if you've had to take a job that pays less, or you have less hours because the business isn't doing as well. And the kids have come in very interestingly. I teach kindergarten. So the students are pandemic children. They're Gen Alpha, right? They've only ever known the pandemic. They've only ever known life behind the mask. They've only ever known you don't share, you don't touch each other. They've never known a play date or a birthday party. And the families that we serve in our school are those who are truly scared of COVID. You know, they're working in factories where COVID has run rampant. I don't know of a single family in our school who has not had a close friend or a loved one die from COVID, since it's a population generally underserved in the medical region. COVID to them is terrifying. They've been very, very careful. We masked, social distance throughout the entire past 2 years. We finished in May, and we were still masking all the time at school. Socially distanced, we have partitions up between the students, regular hand sanitizing, and safety measures in place, because to our kids and to our families, the severity of COVID is very real, and the fear of COVID is very real.
You know, there's such an importance on, you know, emotional regulation and learning structure and having boundaries and pushing against those boundaries. And so how do you do that when you've had to separate them, or you have kids that have, you know, maybe behavioral struggles or learning challenges? I mean, I'm sure it's been compounded since COVID, and now where you're coming out of this. So what's that experience been like?
The kids are coming in behind, and not necessarily academically, though it is there, but socially and emotionally, because especially the kids who are only siblings, that means they've never really had play with other children. You know, we were able to let them be in groups of 2 or 3 a couple days a week for like different activities and centers, but for the most part they still were separated. And when our curriculum talks about when a friend drops their things, you pick it up, the kids are like, but you can't because of COVID. Their whole structure around what it is to be a kind person is affected by COVID, and they come in with a lot less of those skills, those soft skills, as we call them in teaching. Patience, frustration tolerance. You know, if you're an only child and you've been at home with no one but your mom as she works virtually, she's going to give you whatever you want, so you will stay quiet and out of the way. Or your mom is out working, so you're with your grandma who has all 10 of the grandkids while their various adults work. And so it was kind of just free range. Or you were in a preschool, but the preschool was nothing like preschool is supposed to be, because everyone was separate. And so a lot of what we did, especially in the first couple months, was teach them how to be around other people. At recess, we taught them how to appropriately play games. A lot of teaching on frustration tolerance. Not that we make them mad on purpose, but
just poke them a little bit and see what happens.
can you wait your turn? Can you be okay with a no and not being handed a tablet? Can you be okay if someone else gets picked and not you? Those little things have fallen by the wayside in the midst of the pandemic. And so we did a lot of teaching of that, even when they were able to do different STEM, like engineering activities together, and they could play together. After the first day, I was like, stop, we have to teach you how to play together, because you have no clue how to be together doing a task with each other, not just doing a task separately. And so we have a guidance counselor at our school who comes and teaches lessons every week, but we ended up doing like a 5-minute daily social skills lesson to help them learn to regulate. The pandemic, we talk about it being something that really affected adults, right? We've all gone through this collective trauma. But imagine going through that collective trauma at the age of 2, 3, 4, 5. So your parents are being traumatized, or whoever you live with. You have no idea what to do with that information, nor could you even name it. And so what sounds frustrating is like, oh, I have tons of criers this year. I had tons of criers this year because they didn't understand emotional regulation, because there were so many emotions going on in their little bodies that they couldn't even describe. And so how do we help them learn to self-regulate, help them learn to name emotions instead of just breaking down? I actually had a little girl. I was so proud of her. She used to come in the morning, or come in and something would have bothered her, and she would just throw a fit. She'd stomp, she'd cry, she'd scream. Very typical preschool behavior, not very typical kindergarten behavior. And then the second to last week of school, she came in one morning and was like, Sister Kate, I'm really, really frustrated today. And I was like, oh, why? And she goes, I wanted the last of the Cocoa Puffs, but my sister got them, and I had to eat plain Cheerios. And
That's
we were
a
able to
disaster
talk
for
about
real.
It is, right? And
that's big.
It's a huge deal to her. But honestly, I was so excited that she came in and told me she was frustrated. She used the word frustrated, and she was able to tell me, and we made a plan to make it better. And we wrote her mom a grocery list of cereals she should have in the house that she was able to give her mom after school, and she got her breakfast and moved on and had a great rest of the day. And that has become almost more important than what we teach. Not to say we don't learn. I have a reputation of the school that my kindergarten class works hard with really big results. We sing and dance all day, but we don't play around. And the results show it. And every time I have a meeting with a parent or some family member to talk about the child, we talk about how this time, kindergarten, first grade, sets them up for success and lays the foundation to help them rise out and rise up out of the family situation, or to do better than the generation before them. Studies consistently show that if you are not on grade level reading by 3rd grade, you're never going to get there. Wow. And by 4th grade, they start to base prison bed needs in the following decade on 4th grade test scores. That's insane. That is a sad reality in this country. The fact that 97% of students, of people in general, have the ability to learn to read, but less than 60% of our country is literate. That's a true tragedy, and it disproportionately affects minorities and those of lower socioeconomic status. And so my goal is that if a child comes through my room, they're not part of that statistic. We work hard, we learn. I have training in teaching people with learning differences. And so I teach everyone as if they have a learning difference, because it's good for those with a learning difference And it's also good for those who don't. At the end of the year, all of my students were reading on grade level. But more than that, most of them were reading far above grade level.
And so when you are, I know you've been there for a couple of years, but have you seen some of those kids who've gone through the school and high school and gone on to college and things like that, that have been able to come back and say, this experience really helped me and I feel like this set me up for success in the future?
Yeah, one of the great things about being in a little bit of a smaller town, Macon is big enough for Walmarts, but too small for a Target. And we have a really strong foundation and reputation within our community. This year, people will come back and say, you know, I went here and now I'm bringing my child here, or my grandparents went here and I think I'm doing well enough that I can afford to send my child here. The last day of school this year, we had 8 graduates from different high schools who went to our school in elementary school come and talk to the middle schoolers, of course, but they came all the way back down to kindergarten. And the kindergartners, you know, talked to them and asked them about what they were doing. I called them adults, which I think delighted them because they felt so old that I called them adults. And then the kindergartners taught them our rules and our daily mantra. Our mantra that we say every morning after prayers is, I'm a leader, I will grow my brain. When faced with challenges, I will persevere. I will show kindness to all, and I'm a beloved child of God. And that made a couple of the high school graduates tear up, and they're like, you're exactly right. And they just like loved on the kids and they thought it was amazing. And then the kids taught them the hand motions to go with it, because everything you need, you do kind of learn in kindergarten. And it's important to be reminded of that. They're all off on big scholarships to colleges across the country. We're having summer school this year, and a graduate of ours from 8th grade now has a college degree and is coming back to teach it. We have family legacies through the school. The amazing librarian we had decades ago, her grandson was in my class the last 2 years, you know, and she came in and was talking about how different it is, but she taught here and her kids came here and now her grandson is here. We have staff that have been here longer than I've been alive. And they love getting to see, even out in society. I went and saw The Color Purple, the musical, with a couple of coworkers. And one of the actors was actually a graduate of ours. And she remembered one of our office staff who was with us was there when she was there. And they went up and took pictures together. And it's incredible to see our graduates going on and being able to accomplish what they want. I don't know about your mission and where you are, but in small towns, where you go to high school is a really big deal. Mm-hmm. And our school helps our students get into and stay at a high school that will help set them up for success. Whether it be an IB program, which is an international high school diploma, or at one of the local private schools, or at one of the local charter schools, or getting them into just the best honors program we can get them in. One of the local high schools always tells us that they can tell the difference between our students and other students because our students come in so well prepared for math that they can often move on quicker. Because getting into a good high school helps you get access to the scholarships that come with a good college.
Absolutely.
And it starts down in kindergarten, making sure that you learn to read before you leave me, and that you know that you're a leader and you're going to face challenges, but you will persevere. And that above all, you're a beloved child of God.
I think one of the things we hadn't mentioned that is a huge key developmentally for that age is delayed gratification. And I think you exemplify that as a kindergarten teacher, because you say to yourself, here I'm doing something right now, but maybe I'm not going to see the fruits for years, and maybe you'll be off on some other mission across the country or doing something else. But the seeds that you're planting right now are really, really important. And you just give them to God, right?
Mm-hmm. I actually had a really cool experience this week. One of my former students, I taught them in second grade as a pre-postulant. So I was living with the sisters before becoming one in Philadelphia. And he reached out to me on Instagram and he's like, "Hey, Miss McFall, it's so-and-so, remember me?" And I was like, boy, do I ever, how could I forget you? He was my most beloved, challenging child of God that year. The one picture I had of him still, like in my Google Photos, was of him like laying across desks and a stool to plank while working on the computer, because that was the only way we could get him to focus. And out of all the students of that year, he's the one who took the time to reach out to me to say, "Remember me? I was in your class. Now I'm in middle school."
Wow.
And I was like, "Of course I remember you. Absolutely. Say hi to your classmates. Say hi to the teachers." And then I messaged one of the teachers to be like, "I think it's him. Can you like verify?" And so she went up to him the next day and she was like, "Hey, did you reach out to Sister Kate, who used to be Miss McFall?" He was like, "I did. She remembered me." And my heart just swelled that this second grader of mine from almost 5 years ago, yes, 6 years ago, like he knew me, he remembered me, he wanted to make sure that I still remembered him. And that's the impact that a teacher has that we don't often get to see. But as frustrating as he was at the time, he's doing well. He's doing well. He's having success.
I think of our history and the legacy of the foundresses that we've had, and how dedicated they were to children and to education. I mean, of course, I always think of Elizabeth Ann Seton, who's my patron, but St. Louise and Marguerite Nassau and all of those sisters down throughout the years who really believed in the ability to impact children. How do you see yourself in that line?
I work really hard to make sure my children learn to read, but there's an often said quote that children don't remember what you taught them. Children remember how you make them feel. And it takes me back to St. Louise as she was instructing the early sisters. Said something similar. You're not just there to feed people a meal. You're not just there to instruct them, but to make them feel human, dignified, respected. If you're bringing someone a meal, don't just hand it to them or toss it at them. Put out a flower, perhaps. Make it look nice and presentable. And both Vincent and Louise really emphasized the idea that we need to make sure we are serving with dignity and as much dignity as possible. And that was sort of the ultimate feeling of the student who reached out to me this week, right? He didn't message me and say, "Oh gosh, I loved how you taught us the phases of the moon with those Oreos. That was so much fun." They loved it at the time, but that's not what he mentioned. He wanted to make sure I remembered him. Made him feel loved. I made him feel special. And I think that is absolutely in the spirit of St. Louise, of Marguerite Nassau, of Elizabeth Ann, and all of the incredible saints and sisters who've come before me, that I want to give my students the absolute best advantage at life. I work so hard with their grown-ups, as I call it with the kids. I tell them to talk to their grown-ups about things, because you never know who's at home, right? But I work with their grown-ups. I work with my aide. I work with our whole team at school to make sure that they have every advantage possible, no matter the color of their skin or their socioeconomic background. In fact, often in spite of, making sure that they're more excellent than others around them. But at the end of the day, what I ask myself is, how did I make them feel? I teach them about God all day. Did I show them God? Did I show them love, dignity? Or did I let my frustrations get the best of me?
Which is exactly why I'm not in a classroom. I would not do well there. God has his ways.
I definitely start to sing when I'm getting frustrated. I mean, we do sing a lot in kindergarten, right? We sing about everything. But sometimes you will hear me singing like, I just need a moment to breathe because my students are frustrating me. And the kids like laugh. And then I laugh, and it helps me just like calm myself back down.
God bless you. That's amazing. Well, I'm just really delighted that you took the time today, Sister Kate, and it's delightful to hear your stories and all the good. Who doesn't love little kids? You know, they're just amazing. They're, I would say, the extreme of everything. You know, mm-hmm. The extreme behaviors, you have those, but you also have the extreme delight and joy and energy that those kids have. And so thank you for what you're doing and for kind of sharing with us. I feel like this should be a part 1 and we should do a part 2. But it's awesome. So to be continued. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for your perspective. And we'll hope to have you on again soon to talk more about Catholic education.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here and supporting, and you should come for the last day of school next year. I have a very famous last day of school activity.
Do share, don't keep it to yourself.
Last day of school, I've done it whether I've taught kindergarten, first or second. We cover the desks in shaving cream and ourselves in shaving cream. The friars, we have Franciscan friars at our school, they stand at the door and say, absolutely, I will not come in. It's like well known around the school. There were older kids walking up to me the last week of school going, are you doing the shaving cream again? Because it's so much fun. But I do come home covered in shaving cream. So
you'll have to send us a picture so we can post it when we do this episode.
Yeah, I will. And you'll have to come next May, last week of May. Come and get shaving cream with us.
All right. Well, thanks for everything, Sister Kate. You rock.
Absolutely. Good to talk to you.
All right.